welcome to episode 197 of Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, a weekly podcast where we think about what we think about everything in the universe. My name is Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
I'm in London.
I'm in Croatia.
London is like a country, so I think you can compare them. And today,
I'm in Sutivan.
Sutivan
on the island of Brač.
Go
on. Did I interrupt you then?
No, that's fine. Today we're going to talk about, there's a massive time delay, you see, so it's very hard. It's like one of those news broadcasts. Oh, I'm not in the middle. Today we're going to talk about what is involved in running a professional podcast, because I have no idea. I don't know what's involved in that. There we go. I'm just moving myself around on the video. Right, today we're going to talk about what you should not do as you meet us for the first time, which is dismiss us prematurely. We're talking about that effect where it's easy to find a reason to dismiss someone, especially in this digital age. And in the olden days, you'd have to get along with people a lot more, even if you didn't like them. And it's sort of too easy to, although there's nuances to that, as we'll go into. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about this effect where I wouldn't have some good relationships if I'd just gone with my initial gut feeling on someone. So
yeah, judging my judge face.
Sort of like we extrapolate a little bit of information too far.
It's hard to avoid sometimes. It takes a lot of effort to be aware of all your prejudices. I think we did, as preparation for this, have a little chat about some of our top prejudices. I think mine includes voices. Some voices. People have voices sometimes that just don't sit well with me. Then I struggle. So I tell you that. As somebody who records a podcast regularly, I imagine there are people for whom my voice isn't particularly soothing or interesting to listen to. So
impossible.
I appreciate that.
Let's strap into this episode.
Do it.
It's called Prematurely Dismissing People. Titles. So, what was the best thing that happened to you in the last? Has it been 2 weeks, or could it have been 3 weeks?
Could have been 3. It's definitely been 2 because I went skiing. That was really good. That's really what I need to tell you about.
Yes.
For long-time listeners, you will know that I've previously attended a ski goddess holiday, and I braved the COVIDs and the getting off the island and all my newly developed agoraphobia and everything, and travelled across Europe on a train. It was brilliant. I went skiing. And then I didn't. It transpires that in the 2 years since I've been anywhere, they've introduced more overnight trains across Europe. So I did a Zagreb to Zurich overnight, which was delightful. For women travelling on their own, you can book a women's only compartment. So on the subject of who do you have to share with.
Yeah, you mentioned it last time. So you managed to do that both ways in the end?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And I did that was good. I had a great time skiing. I did not look at my phone. I didn't do anything. I de-digitalized. I basically phoned home once a day. That was my contact. And I felt much better for it. But then when I got home, I was ill. But weirdly, I'm going to put that in a best things that happened to me thing, because it made me, I had to actually do a course of antibiotics for the first time in 7-8 years. But I actually had to stay resting, I think, which did me generally the world of good. So yeah, I'm off on that high really at the moment, and I've eased my way back in gently this week. But yes, lots of lovely things have happened despite the general sorry state of the world. What about you, Michael? How are you?
I'm all right. I went to an art gallery with no mask on this weekend. That was novel.
That's very brave.
Like one of those little rooms. I seem to be okay. I went to meet my sister in central London and my two
Hmm.
nieces who are growing along, and I get very sort of like imparting of wisdom with those children. Did you know that wheat is a kind of grass? Mummy doesn't like eating grass when you throw it in her food, but cows do, and they turn that into food for us. But wheat is what we make bread from, and that is grass as well. So there you go.
Did that blow their mind?
Uncle Michael's so boring.
Did you?
No, no one said that. I'm sure they were
Don't say
fascinated
that.
by me. I'm sure they find me as fascinating as I find myself. Um, no, it was fun. I hadn't seen them for ages, so yeah, it was nice to go. And it was like half an hour on my bike. Really sunny day. Yeah, the weather's been nice, so it's hard to be
Always
too.
helps, doesn't it?
And I was sick. I did get food poisoning last week. And while Sharon was away, so I did sort of have a couple of. But it was rainy that day. But then as I was getting better, the sun came out, and you can't be. Something about the sunshine makes everything a bit more bearable, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. As soon as the sun comes, because it's not been particularly. The winters here are not particularly hard, but even the days are short anywhere in winter in the northern hemisphere, and it's like the sort of like it's just so nice for the days to be getting longer and the daytime sunshine to be that bit brighter, and it just Nick's gone from what to I like living here. in a couple of in the course of a couple of weeks. So yes, sunshine is good.
Splendid. Break. So there are good reasons to dismiss people, right? Or should we ever dismiss anyone, even if they say something like fascist? Should we?
I think it's really hard sometimes because I find personally, if you dismiss them completely, what utter chance of any redemption is there? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, how does anyone get better if they constantly get dismissed? But then there's also this thing where people are so poisonous that I think there are people who do you no good. They might do someone else good, and I think you have the right to dismiss those people from your life, from your circles. I don't know. Are we talking about that sort of closer circles? Are we talking about walking into a meeting room, looking at someone, they say one dumb thing, and you're like, "I'm sorry, I can't talk to you anymore because you're foolish." I don't know.
You want to make a download button for the tip of the day? The hell? Like, I thought you were a professional designer. Sorry. No, but it's annoying because like some people you can dismiss, but some you can't. Some people end up being a president, and you can't really dismiss them because you can't get rid of them. They're in your feed, they're in your face every day. So it's sort of there's an intersection of people that you're able to dismiss, who. But there's always going to be some people that you can't, that are just as aggravating. So is it sort of how selfish is it to just the people that are a bit closer to home, that do not make you feel good? You just have to, like, maybe it's not forever, but sometimes you just got to cut them off and go, look, I'm sorry, I can't waste a day having my heart rate doubled by your nonsense. And you being mean to me, and I'm just trying to get on with something.
I've got one of the positive side effects of me traveling by train, traveling overland slowly, and saving huge amounts of carbon footprint in so doing. Just as an aside, was that I had coffee with a relative in Zagreb, and she's a young woman, very clever. And we started off our conversation with me saying there are some things that I don't talk to you about because I know we disagree so vehemently. There's no point. And we don't have time. If we saw each other more often, we could maybe get into it. So there's like stuff that we acknowledged that we don't agree on, to the point where I find her infuriating, some of her opinion, and I will rant happily to her sister and my mother and go, do you know what she put on Facebook? But there's like, but we both agreed that in the interest of family harmony, I was not willing to completely dismiss her from my life just because I don't agree with her or something. It's a mutual thing. But then I've got more grown up cousins who I just can't, I don't want to see, I don't see, because I'm like, I can't, I just, no.
Sometimes life is too short to, like, why is it your job to educate someone? Why is it, why is every feminist on Twitter's job to fix the opinions of every single misogynist? It's not really. At a certain point, you just got to get along with your own life. And not even feminist, female person.
Those feminists. But I've definitely spoken about this before. The fact that I found when I was at uni doing engineering and there was no women on my, I was one of 4 women, 5 women out of 90. I couldn't stand the feminists. It's like, could you stop drawing attention to me, please? I'm trying to get through here without people dismissing me. So yeah, it's kind of a but you miss out, I think, like you say. You can.
We can. There's something to like everyone is their own world, and it's a lot. Especially we come into contact with so many thousands of people on a daily basis that it's really the only effective strategy is to sort of filter people out if they say one thing that you disagree with or they follow one wrong person. You're like, oh, you're following that person, maybe I don't want to talk to you. But each of those people is a world.
Yeah.
They're a whole person.
I think that's the thing that you don't, that I quite enjoy thinking about sometimes, and how easy it is. So a little microcosmic example of this is the Croatian inability to queue. So we're doing our bear with me on my little story here. We've ordered a kitchen for this loft thing that we're doing in our house, and we booked a time to go into this shop. We picked up the child early from school, we got on a ferry, we went to the appointment, we're sitting there and there's lots to go through and this woman just walks up to, we're sitting at a table in a desk with the person in the shop, and this woman, very nicely dressed, very smart, very split chic, and just starts talking to the woman, the employee. And the woman said, I'm a bit busy with a customer, and she just keeps pushing. And she said, look, I can't answer your question now, I've got to, but she kept pushing. So she probably used up 5, 6, 7 minutes of our time. Right. And then as she was walking away, I said, excuse me, you haven't apologized to me for interrupting, which went down really well, as you can imagine. And she was like, what? I said, you have interrupted. She's like, but I have got this really urgent question. I was like, well, I also matter. I was like, I have got on a ferry from an island to come to this shop to come and talk about this. What makes your life more valuable, your 7 minutes more valuable than my 7 minutes? And I think that's that's the part of what you're saying, when you dismiss a person, when you judge them too quickly, when you're not just ignore them and literally ignore. It's like, what am I, a chair? It's like, that's how I felt. But then so and I mean, in this instance, I didn't let her get away with it. I did tell her, but then at what price? Because my blood pressure was oh man, I just had such an adrenaline rush. I felt ill. I was like, is it worth it? I know this isn't healthy, this feeling, but I'm like, how dare you dismiss me and my family so brutally, thoughtlessly,
selfishly.
So so it's like so I on the whole, do unto others kind of thing. I do try not to dismiss, but I'm sure I do. I'm just like, oh, you're a loser. God, I'm not talking to you. I'm not
Yeah.
listening.
There's
It's hard.
what sort of things I'm thinking about what makes me dismiss people. It's like if I feel like they're insincere, if I feel like they're putting on a like a if I feel like someone's just faking their way through and like putting on a big
Yeah.
show and you can see through it, I tend to not bother with them. But sometimes I mistake someone looking kind of,
Like a blagger.
or just I don't know, like sort of too different for me to, like that. One thing I've learned is, if just because someone is wearing a silly jester's hat, they actually, that doesn't mean that they're putting on a facade. They might just be really, really into silly jester's hat and be able to talk to you about it
Yeah.
for hours and have a whole collection of them and know all the history of this and that and the other, and they might be really into it. And that I super respect. I like someone that really is interested and loves something and gets really excited. So I'll, wear the hat. That's fine. I just don't want you to be like, I'm desperate to be noticed, so I'm going to put a stupid hat on. But if you're really into the hats, I'm up for that. So, but maybe,
Yeah. I think there is I think I'm with looks. I think I've got much better. Those kind of like people wearing silly things inappropriately dressed. I don't know, whatever. Too flashy, not flashy. I don't know, whatever. I think I've grown. I checked myself on that long enough ago because that I don't think, I hope I don't do that sort of judging. I do look at I will sort of acknowledge that some person takes a lot more time on their way they present themselves than I do, for example. But I think the as when you're managing people, I was just thinking about this, like how do you dismiss and how do you there's you can't dismiss people, for example. If you're their manager, you
yeah.
can't just go, well, I'm not talking to you. So it's kind of, so that's what, so you sort of have to find ways. But then the question becomes, I can see that you're a blagger. I can see that you're very insecure. I can see all these things. It's like, at what point, how much of it can I mend? And how much of it is my job I just have to live with your insecurities and your blagging and your, I can't just fire you because I think you're a blagger. It's not that straight, it's not that easy to, you know what I mean? Like, you got to go through a
Yes.
whole HR procedure, and there's no form that says, I think this
Annoying.
person they're really annoying.
Tower Bridge.
Whoa,
I've
went
got.
loud.
Was
It
the music
Go
loud
on.
or was I loud? Was the
It just went
music
loud.
quiet?
The music went loud when it came back.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
In
my
her
sister has a
life.
good little line, which I
Yeah.
think we've used and discussed, but it's more like, okay, I don't mind what your opinion is or what you do, as long as your opinion doesn't have an effect on me and my freedom. So there is a kind of, somebody's behavior, if it's, there are people who are blaggers who are arrogant, attacky types, and then there are people like, you're like, full power to you, well done for trying to do that. I definitely distinguish between different types of I don't know, acts that we all put on acts,
Of course,
don't
we
we?
all wear a
And
different
it's like,
face in different
and
situations. I
so
try to sort of like, I've always had this. I don't know why I always feel like I want to have the same demeanor in every situation. That's some sort of weird thing that I have, and I don't really like adapting myself too much. But we all do it. And you see some people really will kind of like, they'll kind of alter their entire personality when they walk into a different room, and you'll be like, wait a minute. So who was I talking to? But
yeah.
I think to unpack the I don't mind what you think as long as it doesn't affect me. there's two things there. The level on which I can agree with it is I think some beliefs sometimes you can come back to the same effect of a belief, even if the belief itself is different. And as long as that effect means that you're being, a good member of
Kind.
society and kind
Yeah.
and not like mean to people, then that's fine. But I think there's a hint of like, I don't mind what you do in your bedroom, but keep it out of the classroom kind of thing to that I wonder if it's worth sort of that sort of tolerance of, yeah, like communities that we sort of a lot of people want to pretend don't exist, and how important having that taught, having that representation is. And even though people may feel like it's some sort of like
Oh, I
threat to
see.
their
Yeah.
family, like, so I'm sort of taking that like, yeah, like
Yeah. I
LGBTQIA
was thinking. Yeah,
plus
I went
kind
straight
of
to
thing.
trans.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah. It
and
is.
when I
Yeah.
first saw, a drag queen, I was like, what the hell? Why would anyone do this? What is wrong with you? And now I've watched like 37,000 episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race, and I can be like, oh, what was it? That weave is really
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, that reminds me of
I,
Sasha Velour.
I,
Like, that's amazing, that look. Like, but like anything
but I, yeah.
different, like there's this thing like, don't be different because you're going to ruin my day. And I think that's a different thing to don't be a terrible person because that's going to, don't like screw me over. But
Yeah.
there's like, don't be different because you're going to make me think about something I don't want to think about, is not necessarily valid. And that's more of a tolerance thing. And people shouldn't be
Yeah.
dismissed
I
on that.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see what, there is that. But I think that's what happens when you dismiss, you deny people the opportunity to unpack and explain their point of view. Like,
Yeah.
how can I sympathize with you? Of course, I'm dismissing you because I don't understand your pain, or I'm dismissing you because I don't understand your reality, or your lived experience, which
Yeah.
seems to be the phrase du jour. But it's real. It's like, I do not know what it is like to be sleeping rough on the streets, to be trans, to be gay, to be. There's a bunch of stuff I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what it is like to walk into a room and not be able to hide the color of my skin. Or,
Yeah.
that kind of. So, yeah, I think yeah, I hadn't really thought about it that way around, but I think it's. But yeah. Sorry,
So there's, I guess there's
I'm
on that,
processing.
there's
Yeah,
like a subconscious level on which we may, yeah, it comes that back. I mean, it's all prejudice, isn't it? And like,
it is. It is
we
totally.
we
Yeah,
can sort of, and you can be a pretty good judge of character. I don't know. I feel like I can spot certain things, but you sort of spot what you're looking for as well. But like, we don't know what we can't see. We don't know what
no,
those kind of hidden prejudices are. Sometimes the difference between, I was going to save this for more of a conclusion thing, but I think you've got two choices. You can dismiss or you can get curious.
yeah,
It's more time consuming to be curious, but I think it's ultimately a lot more rewarding. And just don't assume that there's nothing to it. Like, we should
yeah.
probably. Why are you so drawn to Jordan Peterson? Like,
Yes, Jordan
you
Peterson
know,
was one of my. Yeah, but then yes, I agree. And with my young relative. Oh, what's happened? We did a freeze. Are we
we
back?
we should be all
With
right.
with with my relative there, she was like, I was reading this thing by Jordan Peterson. I was like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, this is one thing that I will go into. No. Okay, she said. But yeah, it is. There is that,
Mm,
and then there's the because we were talking about people who put their religious allegiances in their Twitter profile, for example.
mm,
You can go, and we can do. Oh, well, I do that sort of like. I think it's very Englishy, sort of like using phrases like "God bother" and sings along with you, dismissive, but it's not. That's not grounds enough to dismiss somebody. Um, but but it depends whether that, like you said, their belief system, those belief systems behind it, affect their values that they put out into the world.
there's a certain
But
amount of like,
sometimes, yeah.
Sorry,
If
yeah, there's a certain
yeah,
amount
go
of
on.
like
I was
self-awareness that like it needs to come with something. Like you have to know like you're in a world where there are certain things that people are going to have opinions about, and what you can do in a face-to-face conversation is you can navigate those things in a way that you can't in a
yeah.
tweet, in a way that you can't when you're
Oh,
just kind of
totally. Yeah.
reacting to a Facebook post. And that's so. But let and which I want to dig into, but I interrupted you, so I just wanted to hear the
No,
rest of your thought.
I was just going to say that it's some things you can get into quite easily, but if they are aggressive opinions voiced, like you went straight to sort of like earlier you mentioned like Nazi salute, some things, fascist allegiances. You're like, maybe face to face, one to one, I'd go, hello, why?
Yeah.
But I'm not entering into that debate on Twitter or
Yeah,
in
yeah.
it's just not possible.
I watched the
um
Louis Theroux talking to the sort of the new wave of American Nazis, and it's like it's so bizarre. In conversation, they will just I don't know for some like you can say as soon as he says white supremacist, they're like, well, I'm not a white supremacist, and then he goes, but you believe that America should be like mostly white people. Yeah, of course, and they'll sort of like they'll find any way to say their beliefs, but not the thing like the trigger phrase. I'm not racist. No, I just believe that everyone has their own place in the world, and some people should. And you get that in the face-to-face conversations, and I suppose the flip side of like a Twitter row is like people's beliefs are laid pretty bare, and but there can be a temptation on a one-to-one conversation where someone is clearly harboring some pretty racist ideas, but it's never quite. Sometimes I think it's almost a problem that we don't want to like address that head on in a way that we would on Twitter. Sometimes you've just got to. Yeah, I don't know what I'm
I mean, I
unpacking there,
I'm not
but
I'm
people.
thinking about, I've got people in my life in this part of the world who are fascists.
Oh God.
No, there's no two ways about it. And depending on who they are, I will enter into conversation with them about it or not. There is like a cost benefit
Yeah.
analysis. It's like, they are people that I am either related to or are my very close family friends or something. But I know I sound so kind of like, oh, some of my best friends, but you've kind of got to go, no, some of them I don't talk to because I don't think there's any hope of discussion.
Mm.
Like there's no, and I don't have the energy or the knowledge or the skills maybe to unpack their thought processes and their belief system. But some of the others, I'm like, yeah, you just said that, and that was racist. Why did you say that? What do you mean? Oh, well, I didn't know you meant. So don't say stuff that just because you think it's funny, because it's
Yeah.
not. It's that. But I think, but they're people that I want to love. Do I think maybe that's as well the sort of a bit of a on the subject of dismissing. It's like, I don't know you yet, so I can dismiss you. I can decide not to get to know you. But if I've already got to know you and then I discover something about you and it's like,
Like how much
now I
sunk
do love
cost.
you.
Hello. Right.
Yeah,
So it peaked in volume, did it? The music, and
yeah,
then oh God, this. Um. Sometimes you want something out of someone. Should you
yeah.
ever just pretend that they're not into dodgy stuff just because you kind of need what you can get? Like what?
Well, that's, it depends how much you need them, how much power they have over you. I've given examples of people that I already love, so
Mm.
therefore I don't want to not love them anymore. And then there's people that hold authority over you in some way. You need a piece of paper with a stamp on it from them, for example. Excuse me.
Need some water.
You know, and they're like,
water?
Well, I have got water, but it
Got
doesn't seem to
water.
be doing anything.
Oh no, have you got COVID?
No.
Sorry, go
I
on.
feel extremely well. Apart from I still got itchy skin.
Oh.
Very annoying. But yeah, they're like, you know, people in authority. Very hard to challenge. You know, it's a privilege to be able to challenge people in authority. I think you've got to feel very
I have
secure.
exploited to the max.
Yeah, but
In my
you know, like
career.
you've got to feel super safe to be able to turn around to a teacher, a boss, a somebody, and just go, I'm not working for you. You're not, you know, I don't want to listen to what you're saying, teacher. And it's like, I think that's hard. I think, you know, I think it's very hard to be that brave for many people. Or stupid, one or the other. Sometimes you're like, or that idealistic, should we say? Sometimes I wonder if it's stupidity or idealism. But yeah, anyway, but it's like, it's, I think, but using people, manipulating them, letting them think you agree with them, so that you can,
Well,
I don't know,
that's another level.
get
Like
a free pass, get past the wheel.
Sometimes people just you just want to avoid a subject because you know it's sensitive, but the other person will just force it into the conversation. That's something I find really hard because I'm annoyed by the subject matter and also annoyed by the social like unawareness of the other person not knowing. Like I've been skirting around this and trying to avoid it, and you just keep pushing it in my face, and I just do not want to talk about it, and I'm just going to get really, really upset about that. But the reason I'm thinking about this though is you can if you take this sort of dismissing people thing too far, if you sort of like if your twatdar is so finely tuned that you can, you know, scroll through who they're following on Twitter and go, no, disqualified. If you're just sort of, if you're too ready to disqualify people, then you can end up in a very sort of isolated and unprofitable situation. like you can.
Well, also you could end up in an opinion bubble.
Yeah,
which we've all seen. Like that's the other thing. It's like if I don't have, we spoke about the living in a village thing, which I think is relevant here. It's like if I'm currently in a village of 1,000 people. I don't have a choice. I can't only speak to the people I agree with. Otherwise, I'd have no friends. I don't have particularly that many friends here to be, you know, I'm still new, but I can't afford to walk around not speaking to people or tutting at them because they're smoking in the children's playground. I've got to choose my approach very carefully to not alienate and become alienated. So, and I think that's a very hard thing because, you know, smoking in a children's playground, I think is really dumb.
Yeah. Well,
there are signs up to say don't smoke. I'm like, we know, let's not debate this. We all know that it's going to kill. That's fine if that's what you want to do. Don't smoke in the children. Just stop it.
Literally got pictures. What are the pictures like on the cigarette packets? Have they got like blistered lungs?
Yeah, they've got all of that stuff. Like, come on, guys. All of that jazz. You know, come on, people. Look, go by all means, smoke in a cafe still if you insist. I just cannot go to a cafe, but smoking in front of children is stupid. Anyway, but you can't, you know, and then you think about this, but that's kind of an unserious topic, isn't it? But you're condoning it by not confronting it, by not saying to all of the mums that are there smoking, go, put it out. It says, look at the sign. You're allowing that behavior to persist. And then there's like this level of what's the hierarchy? Where do you stop? And you can understand that living in a, you know, like in a some sort of, you know, like the Trump get elected, or Priti Patel and her treatment of refugees. It's like, well, you know, we were at this dinner party, but we didn't want to tell the person that they were being racist or that they were being so we let it go. And then you're just allowing everybody to smoke in the children's playground by ignoring the conversation.
Yeah.
So
takes
on
us
that
back
note,
to a
I'm
very
off to the children's playground with a sign.
well, that takes us back to a very old episode, doesn't it, where we talked about like speaking up in those situations. But I think
Yeah, but
I'm thinking about like just I think we could probably, especially like I mean the village is the opposite
yeah,
to the Twitter sphere or the the world that I'm in, and I think personally I could stand to just give people one more chance. At least give them two chances instead of just one. And that's not the same as I've got to dissect their past and learn everything about their history to understand how they came to this view, or like who were they bullied by, or this and that. I don't have to dig
yeah,
into their entire history, but maybe I could stand to just take a breath and give them two chances. Tit for two tat in game theory is supposed to be very
Oh, is it
effective.
tit for two tat?
Tit for two tats
Oh,
is very, and that's sort of like that's sort of the Northern Ireland struggle is an example that Matt Ridley brings up, and like if everyone's just reacting to what these gang wars and mafia things and Northern Ireland, all that kind of stuff just keeps going because and it only stops when one person goes, okay, I'm going to forgive one infraction to just end the cycle. So
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's maybe looking at if you look at it in those game theory terms. Just I just need
I
to give
like
people
that.
another chance
So
sometimes.
it's nicer to say than three strikes and you're out, because Nick my husband Nick,
Hmm.
he has a very he's not prejudiced at all in terms of like he'll work with anybody as long as they're not a knobhead. His
Yeah.
personal work, but he cannot tolerate lateness. So whether
Mm.
it's a client or for anyone, they're allowed to be late twice,
Mm.
but after the third time he will not meet with them again.
I had
It's
someone
like
be very late this week.
he's just like, I mean, people can be late,
Yeah.
okay, but if you're consistently late, it's so hugely disrespectful of the other person, and
Yeah.
it's that sort of like so yeah, he's kind of so I think there's those kind of we could all do with taking a deep breath and giving people the tit for two tat.
Yeah. Just one
But
more chance, I think, would make the world a
yeah,
lot of more. I think
yeah,
society would
yeah,
work a bit better.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But then,
I
and
mean,
then some people that are just consistent offenders that you're stuck with. That's a different problem. And I don't know what you're supposed to do about that.
yeah, because this subject is more about new people, isn't it, than people
I
you
think
already
so.
love and know.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's like,
new people,
maybe extending those
new
new
people.
people a bit of that people you already know courtesy.
Give
It's
them
like,
an
oh,
extra one more look. I'll
yeah.
overlook this one. I'll try not to show it on my face or say anything. You're gonna be able to. They're gonna be able to tell though. Like I can
Yeah.
just see this. I
Well,
actually hide.
especially both you and I suffer or have a strength, whichever way you want to look at it, of when we meet people that we're not that keen on, we both aren't very good at hiding it. Which I don't know. I think
Oh
it's
well.
like, oh, really? Is that what you think? Okay. I
Yeah.
did have on my, but yeah, I'm having to tolerate quite a lot of people at the moment just to live
Yeah.
where I live.
The downside of the beautiful rolling. I would show
Adriatic
you on the
Island.
podcast some of Ivanka's lifestyle, but she has sent me
It's just
not a video.
no videos.
Did you?
No, I did
I
got
need
a
some
message when
videos.
I was skiing. I
I was
saw it
like,
when I got back because I
please
switched off my English phone, and Michael had said, send some videos. I was like, I did not take my phone out whilst on the mountain. I
sure,
just
sure.
I just skied, man. I was there to
But
ski,
look, who do you
not to
care about
document the
more?
skiing.
Who do you care about more, you or our listeners? That's what I'm trying to find out here.
Listen.
Our listen, well, our viewers on Twitch, of whom there are currently one. So
Hello, viewer on Twitch.
hello
Um,
viewer on Twitch.
so
Um,
yeah, I think not being dismissed. I think we should. I think in conclusion,
give me
I
another
want to
one
be
chance.
dismissive. I want to be less. I think I'm becoming less dismissive with age. In some ways, I'm
Oh
becoming less
yeah,
dismissive,
like when
but
you're
in
young
others,
and
I'm becoming like more. Sorry, I don't have time for this conversation with you. Oh God, I will tell you on the subject of me speaking up. I don't know if it's relevant, but but I'll tell you the story anyway. Phoned up Croatia Telecom to because I did keep having a problem with my broadband, and I'd phone up every couple of weeks, ask them to do a reset from their end, and it would all work again. And so I just got into this habit. Hello, can you do another reset? Thank you. Okay, bye. A boy answered the phone one day, and he went, well, why do you need to reset? I was like, look, I've got to start work in a minute. Can you just do it? This is what we do. And he was like, but why do you want a reset? Look, can you just reset it, please? You know, I had my smiley voice on. And then he goes, maybe you should talk to somebody who in your house who knows more about these things. I was like, young man, how dare you? And then I phoned up and made a complaint about him. Because I said, I am nearly 50 years old. I refuse to be met with sexist remarks by some boy on the phone who's not old enough. Because I mentioned the technology I have in the house. And he was like, I said, do you know what I'm talking about? No. I said, well, first of all, go and learn something and then speak to me about just reset my... But I have to say, since that conversation, my broadband miraculously, and touch wood, has not needed resetting. So maybe I should have been aggressive much earlier.
Oh, Lord. What are we
there
ever
you go.
going to do?
I don't know.
Should we say
Unfortunately,
hi we've got a chatter who just said hi, has a best go hi. So there you go.
Hi.
So we're not just talking to ourselves, we're talking to one person. That was that conclusion-wise.
And Katie.
And Katie. And conclusion-wise, yeah, but not live. It's a live
That's
listener.
true.
Conclusion-wise, we've just gone from let's give people a chance to let's tear people.
Let's smack them down.
So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out if this is going to help me. I think it's that deep breath thing. It sucks though, because I'm right.
That's the...
Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, there's a website, grandpodcast.com. There's a Patreon. You can give us free money. If you do that, you get early access to the full video episodes. Well, you get exclusive access to the full video episodes. And you get the email with all the links in it. I quite like that aspect of it. So anything we talked about that's a link goes in the thing. Where can people find you on the internet, Ivanka, Majic?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter, though with the Ivanka Trump seems to be getting lots of news at the moment, so I might miss your tweets. So, you might have to say something really amazing for me to notice you. But that's where I am.
Ivanka's mentions. Get out of my mentions, you.
Get out of my
Ivanka
mentions,
people.
you silly billies.
Spaces. Do not work in usernames. Twitter. Okay. You can find me on... Come to squares.tv. That's where I'm doing all my stuff. I've got a new app out called Beat Sheet. I've got Shoot. Just come to Squares TV and just have a poke around if you're remotely interested in video stuff. But also, we have a new podcast called Can You See My Screen? Which if you go to canyousseemyscreenpodcast.com, there are 5 episodes, and we're talking about what is streaming? What is the thing we're doing right now? How do you get confident on camera? We've got an interview with Olisa Banjo. He gave us some really good insights on sort of that confidence and inner things as related to video, and how filming can make you just feel better about yourself and make money. We've got that. That's canyousseemyscreenpodcast.com, and that's where we're trying to give a bit of value, other than us just kicking around shooting the shit, which we do here. So but yes. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see
Thank you for listening.
Next week, hopefully. no more hiatus. And take care. Bye bye
bye bye bye bye bye bye bye.